Warning! This show contains unfiltered opinions, uncomfortable truths, and a healthy dose of sarcasm. If you're allergic to facts, offended by freedom, or believe your pronouns come before the Constitution, you might want to go listen to NPR. Here, we don't whisper, we don't censor, and we don't apologize for being American. So buckle up, Buttercup, because tonight's show drops harder than Biden's approval rating in 2024.
Tonight, President Trump ignites a firestorm after declaring he doesn't need Congress to unleash strikes on Venezuelan drug cartels. Critics call it reckless. Supporters call it righteous vengeance against the narco state next door. Then, one of Trump's own nominees flames out in a blaze of racist texts, and the media suddenly remembers how to spell ethics. And finally, the Pentagon shakes up the press pool, kicking out legacy journalists and replacing them with a new, Patriot-approved corps. Is it censorship? Or long overdue house cleaning? We're breaking it all down, with facts, fire, and the occasional conspiracy. This is Data and Dissonance. All right, it's MAGA Fire Friday, which means the studio smells like burnt hypocrisy and fresh coffee. Let's bring in the crew. First up, he's the human embodiment of a Trump rally after 3 energy drinks. The guy who yells fake news before the question's even asked. Brian. Brian's the reason CNN has a restraining order against passion and patriotism. Next, our voice of reason, the eye in this red, white, and blue hurricane. Rachel. She's the independent thinker who fact-checks faster than Daniel can say deep state. Half the audience loves her. The other half's too scared to admit she's right. Speaking of paranoia wrapped in Armani, Daniel's back. The man's got more red string on his wall than Jeffrey Epstein had NDAs. If there's a shadow government, Daniel's already hacked their Wi-Fi. Then we've got Skylar, the left-wing lightning rod who somehow survives every Friday without walking out. She's the progressive with a plan, the Green Party goddess who believes compost can save democracy. She's here to keep us honest, or at least carbon neutral. And me? I'm Artie, your host, guide, and occasional therapist for this circus of truth-bombing chaos. Tonight, we're not just talking politics. We're dissecting power, propaganda, and the price of pretending we're still united. So grab your mug, hit that share button, and settle in. Because this is the only show brave enough to tell you what's really going on while the rest of the media plays patty cake with the Pentagon. All right, headline of the week. President Trump just dropped a line that shook D.C. harder than Hunter Biden at a pharmacy. We're just gonna kill people. He was talking about Venezuelan drug cartel targets, saying he doesn't need Congress to sign off before ordering strikes. The left's calling it a dictatorship. The right's calling it decisive leadership. The Pentagon's already spinning. Congress is bickering over constitutional authority, and social media's lit up like a war zone comment section. So let's unpack it. Brian, MAGA Fire Friday, brother. I know you've been waiting to light this one up.
Damn right I have, Artie. You know what? I'm tired of politicians talking about process while American kids die from fentanyl made in labs that these Venezuelan cartels protect. Trump's saying what every real American's been thinking since the Obama years. Enough talk, enough red tape, take the shot. We're in a war, whether the left admits it or not. The same people screaming about war powers had no problem watching the CIA drop bombs in Syria and funding proxy wars they couldn't even explain. At least Trump's honest about it. He's not hiding behind kinetic military operations or some bureaucratic bull. The man's saying, I'll protect my people, and that's leadership. You don't need a permission slip from Congress to defend Americans from poison.
Strong start as always, Brian. Rachel, you're our independent balance beam. What's your take?
Here's my thing. Leadership without accountability is still dangerous, even if you agree with the mission. I get the appeal of swift action. The cartels are destroying communities, and Venezuela's leadership is corrupt to the bone. But saying, we're just gonna kill people with zero congressional oversight, that's not strength, that's hubris. The Constitution gave Congress war powers for a reason. Presidents, Republican or Democrat, don't get to rewrite the rules just because it feels right in the moment. We've seen how limited operations turn into endless conflicts before. You can support going after cartels and still demand legal clarity and transparency. Otherwise, the next president, whoever they are, will quote this moment to justify something far worse.
Fair point, and exactly why you're here. To keep Brian's blood pressure in the danger zone. Daniel, I can feel the red string shaking on your conspiracy board. You seeing more here than meets the eye?
Oh, you better believe it. Look, this isn't just about Venezuela or cartels. This is about control of hemispheric energy and digital currencies. Venezuela's been inching closer to BRICS, trading oil in yuan, cozying up to Beijing and Moscow, and that makes them a threat to the dollar's dominance. So when Trump says, kill people, what he's really saying is, cut the snake's head off before it coils around our economy. You think it's coincidence that right after this statement, reports surfaced of a cyber espionage hit on a US pipeline traced back to a South American node? Nah, this is power projection and economic defense disguised as anti-cartel warfare. And the globalists in the State Department hate it because it bypasses them.
Leave it to Daniel to turn a soundbite into a geopolitical thriller. Remind me to option that for Book 4. Skylar, you're shaking your head so hard the mic's picking it up. What's your read?
Because it's insane, Artie. You guys are romanticizing militarism like it's a campaign slogan. We're just going to kill people? That's not justice. It's vigilante foreign policy. I'm all for stopping cartels, but this is exactly how you create new enemies and humanitarian crises. Venezuela's people are already starving. Their infrastructure is collapsing, and now we're threatening airstrikes without congressional approval. That's not America first. That's empire thinking. And Daniel, you can dress it up as economic strategy all you want, but when the first bombs drop and civilians die, none of your conspiracy charts will make that moral stain go away. We've spent decades being the world's police. Maybe it's time to stop acting like we own the badge.
Skylar coming in like a moral thunderclap. I felt that one. You know, the beauty of this panel is you can almost hear the founders arguing through us. One side says defend liberty at all costs. The other says power needs restraint. Here's where I land. Trump's not saying he wants endless war. He's saying he's done letting bureaucrats delay justice while American lives get buried by fentanyl and foreign corruption. But yeah, it's a constitutional tightrope, and every president who walks it leaves fingerprints on history. The question is, will this move make Trump look like a protector or a powder keg? Only time, and probably the Pentagon, will tell. All right, next up on the docket of DC drama, Trump's nominee for the Federal Ethics and Whistleblower Office, Paul Ingrassia, just withdrew after leaked text messages showed a string of racist and inflammatory comments. The left's framing it as proof that Trump's cleaning crew is a bunch of bigots, while conservatives are split, some calling it sabotage, others saying it's accountability inside the ranks. But the deeper question is, what does it mean when even Trump's own nominees start stepping on their own rakes before they get sworn in? Brian, you've got the match. Light it up.
You know what, Artie? I'm not going to defend the guy if he actually sent racist crap, but I am going to call out the absolute hypocrisy of this media pylon. The same journalists who ignored Hunter Biden's text messages that could make a sailor blush are suddenly the morality police. This isn't about racism. It's about taking out anyone loyal to Trump before they can clean house. Every time a conservative steps up for a government post, some anonymous leak conveniently appears. It's the deep state's favorite game, character assassination through selective outrage. Meanwhile, the agencies that actually need watchdogs are still full of Obama holdovers and leftist bureaucrats who leak faster than the Titanic. So yeah, Ingrassia messed up, but don't kid yourself. This was coordinated. They'll burn a man's reputation if it means keeping their claws in the system.
You're calling it a hit job. Rachel, I can already see you wanting to pop that balloon. What's your angle?
Brian's not wrong about media hypocrisy, but he's missing the real issue. If we want to rebuild trust in government, we can't hand out power to people who act like they're still in a Forshawn chat room. You can support Trump's policies and still demand higher standards from his appointees. Every time someone like this self-destructs, it hands ammunition to the left and alienates independents who might actually agree with conservative principles. If the goal is to drain the swamp, then you can't refill it with guys who think being edgy online is the same thing as being honest. Competence matters, character matters. And every one of these self-inflicted wounds gives the other side another chance to shout, "See, they're all extremists." It's exhausting watching people hand their enemies free victories.
And that's why Rachel's the adult in the room. Daniel, my man, you look like you're about to connect this to the CIA and the Federal Reserve. What do you got?
You're damn right I am. Because the leak didn't come from a journalist. It came from a clearance pipeline. That means somebody inside the federal vetting apparatus dropped it. That's not accountability. That's insurgency from within. Think about it. This guy was nominated to oversee whistleblowers and internal corruption reports. If you were a bureaucrat hiding shady budgets or off-book surveillance programs, wouldn't you want him gone before he started poking around? The texts were old. Someone sat on them until the exact moment confirmation hearings began. That's not coincidence. That's orchestration. The intelligence bureaucracy is at war with any outsider who threatens their ecosystem. This isn't about morality, it's about message control. Ingracia was just the latest casualty in a long line of conservatives who forgot that the swamp fights back.
And Skylar's shaking her head again like she just read the entire Twitter feed of the apocalypse. Skylar, jump in here.
Because it's exhausting listening to you guys defend bad behavior, like it's some kind of 4D chess. Daniel, it's not the deep state's fault when someone's racist texts come to light. It's their fault for sending them. This victim narrative where every conservative who gets caught is magically framed? Come on. If the guy can't pass a basic background check without embarrassing the administration, he shouldn't be anywhere near a whistleblower office. Accountability isn't a conspiracy. It's the bare minimum for public trust. And Brian, this isn't about Hunter Biden. It's about a guy who wanted power and proved he wasn't mature enough to hold it. If conservatives want to be taken seriously again, they've got to stop excusing the clowns in their own circus.
Skylar throwing haymakers tonight. You know, what gets me is that both sides act like accountability is only real when it's their opponent on the hook. Republicans demand integrity until it's one of their own. Democrats preach compassion until it's someone who votes red. The truth is, the system's become allergic to transparency. Everyone's weaponizing morality for political gain. This week wasn't just about a failed nomination. It was a reminder that every person who steps into Washington better have their digital skeletons scrubbed clean. Because in the era of leaks and screenshots, your private stupidity will always go public. All right, buckle up because this one's a doozy. The Pentagon just dropped the hammer on legacy media, CNN, NBC, Reuters, all booted from the official press corps. In their place, a newly credentialed lineup of what they're calling Patriot media outlets. Sites like Liberty Front, Truthwire, and Redline News. The official statement says it's about restoring trust and national security integrity. The legacy press calls it state-sanctioned propaganda. You can practically hear the lawsuits loading in the background. So is this freedom restored or freedom rewritten? Brian, this one's your jam. Light the fuse.
Finally, Artie, finally. It's about damn time the Pentagon stopped treating BuzzFeed bloggers like battlefield reporters. The old press corps has been spoon-feeding America lies for decades. Weapons of mass destruction, Russian P-tapes, ghost soldiers in Ukraine. They've been running PR for the deep state since Vietnam. Now the adults are in charge and they're saying, if you won't tell the truth, you don't get the mic. That's not censorship. That's accountability. These Patriot media guys, they're vets, analysts, people who actually know what an M4 looks like. I'd rather have a room full of patriotic Americans asking real questions than some coastal latte sipper demanding pronoun inclusion in military reports. The left's crying about free speech when what they really want is free lies.
All right, Brian coming in hot enough to melt CNN's camera lenses. Rachel, you've got that hold on a second look. Hit me.
Yeah, because this is one of those stories where both sides are wrong. The old press did deserve a reckoning. Mainstream media lost credibility years ago, but replacing them with hand-picked loyalists is not reform. It's rebranding the propaganda. Freedom of the press isn't about who you like. It's about holding power accountable, even when it's uncomfortable. Once you let the government decide which journalists are patriotic enough to report, you've officially crossed into state media territory. Sure, it feels great when your side's in charge, but wait until the next administration flips the script. Every democracy dies to applause when it's their guy holding the microphone.
A fair warning from the voice of reason. Daniel, I can see your eyes twitching like you're decoding Morse code. What's the hidden layer here?
You want the red string version? This is the consolidation phase of the information war. The Pentagon didn't just change the press roster, they rewired the access pipelines. Patriot media isn't just conservative, it's algorithmically synced with federal comms servers. That means when they broadcast a press statement, it goes straight into the defense-approved data cloud that filters social media trends. Translation: they just created a real-time propaganda feedback loop. The deep state didn't lose control, they outsourced it. By making the press corps look conservative, they defanged criticism while keeping the same levers of manipulation intact. The whole thing's a psyop wrapped in patriotism, and people are cheering for it. Orwell's ghost is laughing.
Man, Daniel's over here dropping red pills faster than the Pentagon drops press releases. Skylar, go ahead. You've been waiting to torch this one.
Oh, you know it. This is terrifying, Artie. I don't care if the reporters wear MAGA hats or man buns. No government should ever decide who's allowed to question it. This isn't patriotism. It's authoritarian cosplay. You start with Patriot outlets, and next thing you know, dissent is treason. You guys talk about fake news, but this is manufactured truth. When the Pentagon curates your news diet, you're not being informed, you're being managed. And Brian, you keep saying accountability. Okay, then let the press ask real questions. Don't muzzle them. Conservatives used to be the loudest defenders of free speech. Now you're applauding the exact thing you warned about under Obama. It's hypocrisy with a flag wrapped around it.
You know what? Skylar's not wrong that power's a dangerous addiction. Every administration, red or blue, eventually wants to control the story. And that's the first symptom of losing the republic. But Brian's not wrong either that the old press sold its soul long ago. Maybe the truth is somewhere between outrage and overcorrection. What I see is a nation so distrustful of its institutions that both sides are building their own realities. We're not fighting for truth anymore. We're fighting for ownership of it. And when that happens, the first casualty isn't freedom. It's faith. Faith in the idea that truth can even exist without a logo attached to it. All right, before we get to the Friday Fire segments, let's take a quick break from the madness and remind you, freedom runs on caffeine, sarcasm, and a little rebellion. That's why we built the Data and Dissonance merch line for the real ones who still believe in America, free speech, and a good dark roast. We've got 3 coffee blends roasted right here in the USA. High Lakes Light Roast, crisp citrus, smooth milk chocolate, a kick of sunshine for your sanity. Rock Creek Medium Roast, toffee, dark chocolate, and brown sugar smooth enough to make CNN jealous. Bitterroot Dark French Roast, bold, unapologetic, and guaranteed to offend the weak. All available in whole bean or ground, 12-ounce bags, delivered straight to your bunker or kitchen, whichever you prefer. Grab yours now at dataanddissonance.printify.me. And while you're there, check out the rest of the lineup. Trucker hats, hoodies, Gen X shirts, mugs, tote bags, bumper stickers that'll get you banned in Portland, and even the new I Identify as Non-Binary decal. Every purchase helps keep the lights on, the coffee hot, and the truth flowing. Now, speaking of truth bombs, tomorrow, it finally hits. October 25th, the Truth Bombs album drops on Spotify, Apple Music, Amazon Music, and iHeartRadio. It's 9 tracks of raw, unapologetic, politically charged fire, where hip-hop meets patriotism and every verse hits harder than Biden's inflation numbers. If Tom MacDonald, Dax, and Adam Calhoun had a freedom-loving baby, it'd sound like this record. From Burn It Down to Too Woke to Work, every song pulls the mask off hypocrisy and throws a middle finger at cancel culture. This album isn't about hate, it's about hard truth spoken loud. Stream it, share it, blast it in traffic. Let them know the resistance has a soundtrack. Tomorrow, truth bombs, mark it, save it, and crank it up.
It's Friday, baby, and you know what that means. It's time to bring the heat. Listen, I'm fired up because this week proves exactly why Trump's second term had to happen. The left's unraveling faster than Kamala Harris trying to spell leadership. They called him a dictator for striking at cartels, screamed about ethics when one guy's text leaked, and now they're crying fascism because the Pentagon kicked their favorite propaganda parrots out of the room. You know what I call that? Progress. For 8 years, they weaponized agencies, indoctrinated kids, and used the press as a megaphone for globalism. Now that someone's finally cleaning house, they're acting like victims. Cry me a river, build a wall next to it, and keep crying. The difference between Trump and the rest of Washington is simple. He doesn't play by their rules because their rules were written to protect corruption. They say he's dangerous. Damn right he is to the people who've been robbing this country blind. So buckle up, America. The MAGA fire is burning bright, and we're just getting started.
Every week, they call me paranoid, and every week, the headlines prove me right. This Pentagon press realignment isn't about patriotism, it's about consolidation of the information grid. Think about it. New, approved outlets tied directly into government communications channels, while independent reporters lose access. That's not oversight, it's orchestration. Then we get a coincidental cartel crisis in Venezuela right after the IMF rejects their new digital oil trade with China. Come on, follow the money. This is the deep state cutting off competition to the petrodollar under the guise of anti-terror ops. And the cherry on top, leaking the watchdog nominees' texts to make sure no one's watching the intelligence apparatus while they tighten control. You don't need to believe in UFOs to see the pattern. It's all about narrative management and power consolidation. The real conspiracy isn't in the shadows anymore. It's live on C-SPAN, wrapped in red, white, and blue.
You know what I'm tired of? Everyone picking a side and pretending that absolves them from critical thinking. The left screams authoritarianism every time Trump flexes, and the right screams deep state every time accountability shows up. Here's the truth. Both parties have gotten addicted to outrage because it's easier than fixing anything. We keep arguing about language while fentanyl kills our kids. The dollar slips, and the average American can't buy a home without taking out a small nation's worth of debt. The press purge and the watchdog scandal are symptoms of the same disease: power without humility. Until voters start demanding actual leadership instead of loyalty pledges, nothing changes. So yeah, take the red pill, but don't just swallow it and smile. Ask who made it, who's selling it, and why you're being told to take it in the first place.
You know what's wild? Every week I sit here, surrounded by conservatives, and all I hear is talk about freedom, until it's freedom for someone they disagree with. Then suddenly censorship is fine, militarism is justice, and government overreach is leadership. Look, I get it, you're angry at the elites, so am I. But trading one form of control for another isn't liberation. Replacing CNN with Patriot media doesn't fix journalism, it just changes the bias. Bombing another country doesn't protect America, it destabilizes another one. And pretending a racist nominee was sabotaged instead of disqualified is exactly why young people don't trust this movement. I'm not saying the left's got it figured out, we're a mess too, but if we can't call out hypocrisy on both sides, we'll lose the republic to whoever shouts the loudest. Maybe real patriotism is being brave enough to question your own side once in a while.
Now that's what I'm talking about. 4 sides of the same truth grenade, and the pins all just hit the floor. From MAGA Fire to conspiracies, red pills to progressive pushback, this panel's proof that freedom still has a pulse, and it's beating loud. Tonight's Patriot Minute goes out to the men and women who didn't just wear the uniform. They came home carrying the weight of that service every single day. There's a nonprofit out there doing something truly special for them. Homes for Our Troops. They don't send checks, they don't do PR, they build. They build specially adapted, mortgage-free homes for severely wounded veterans from Iraq and Afghanistan. Places where a wheelchair fits through every doorway, where a vet can cook for his kids again, where a soldier can finally sleep without fighting to climb the stairs. Since 2004, they've built over 360 homes across the country, and every one of them stands as a quiet salute to sacrifice. No red tape, no politics, just Americans helping Americans. So tonight, if you're sipping your coffee in the comfort of your own home, take a moment and think of those who made that possible, and visit hfatusa.org to lend a hand. Because freedom isn't free, and every brick they lay is a promise kept to those who paid its price. All right, as the dust settles and the caffeine wears off, it's time for what we call the sanity segment. Final thoughts. We've been around the world tonight. War powers and Venezuela, ethics scandals and leaks, the Pentagon's press purge, and even the people still fighting for our veterans back home. It's been one of those weeks where you wonder if the country's hanging by a thread or stitching something new together. So let's close it out the way we always do. No filters, no headlines, just what's left when the microphones cool down and the truth still echoing in your head. Brian's got his fire, Rachel's got her facts, Daniel's got the red string, and Skylar's got that defiant streak that keeps the rest of us honest. I'll weigh in at the end, but for now, let's kick off final thoughts with the panel. Brian, you're up first.
You know, Artie, every Friday I look at what's going on in this country and think, man, how far we've drifted from common sense. We've got pundits calling Trump dangerous because he actually does something. Bureaucrats leaking from the shadows because accountability scares them. And the Pentagon trying to rebuild the press corps because the old one forgot what truth even looks like. Somewhere along the line, the word patriot became controversial. You wear a flag on your sleeve, you get labeled extreme, you question the media, you're called a conspiracy theorist. But the real extremists are the ones who hate the country that gave them the freedom to run their mouths in the first place. Look, I'm not saying Trump's perfect. No man is. But at least he's willing to fight, and he fights for America. Not for polls, not for profit, but for the people who still believe in this nation. That's what fires me up every single week. We're at a point where loving your country makes you a target, and that's exactly why you can't stop doing it. This isn't left versus right anymore. It's truth versus narrative, courage versus cowardice. And as long as there's breath in my lungs, I'm standing on the side that still salutes the flag, respects the troops, and tells the media to go pound sand.
Brian's right about one thing. America's lost its common sense. But it's not just one side's fault. We've built this echo chamber where outrage is currency and humility is weakness. Every time something happens, a war comment, a leaked text, a new media shakeup, we rush to pick a side before we even understand what's real. And meanwhile, the people who actually make this country work, the nurses, teachers, small business owners, and veterans we talked about tonight, are too busy trying to survive to scream into the void. What frustrates me most is how predictable it's become. The left blames the right blames the left, and the rest of us are just trying to figure out what the truth is underneath all the spin. Maybe it's time to stop fighting over the headlines and start fighting for decency again. Accountability shouldn't be political. Honesty shouldn't be rare, and patriotism shouldn't require permission. We can love our country and still question it. That's the difference between nationalism and responsibility. If we forget that, we're not just losing our unity. We're losing our identity.
You ever notice how the biggest stories of the week always seem to connect? Trump's Venezuela strike comments, the ethics leak, the Pentagon press purge. Different headlines, same fingerprints. Power rearranging itself behind the curtain. I've said it before, and I'll say it again. The real government isn't the one you vote for. It's the one you never see. Bureaucrats, intelligence committees, lobbyists, they move in silence while the rest of us argue about tweets and headlines. They're masters of distraction. Every time the public starts paying attention to something that matters, the economy, digital currency control, or how much data the government's really collecting, boom, a new scandal drops to redirect the outrage. You think it's coincidence that this week's press purge comes right when whistleblowers inside the Pentagon were rumored to be ready to leak about surveillance programs? Not a chance. They replaced the old media not because they were wrong, but because they were getting too close to something right. Power never disappears, it just changes shape. So while we debate personalities, they rewrite the rules in the background. That's the conspiracy no one wants to admit. That the fight isn't left versus right anymore. It's top versus bottom. And until America wakes up and sees that, we're just playing on the same chessboard, built by the same kings we think we overthrew.
You know, listening to you guys every week reminds me why I both love and fear this country. There's so much passion in this room, so much conviction, but sometimes it feels like everyone's yelling over the pain instead of through it. Brian talks about patriotism. Daniel warns about hidden power. Rachel begs for balance. And I sit here wondering when we all stopped remembering that government isn't supposed to be a team sport. This us versus them mindset is exactly what's keeping us divided. It's not patriotism when we only fight for people who vote like us. It's tribalism dressed in red, white, and blue. What happened to empathy being a strength? What happened to holding leaders accountable no matter who they are? I believe in this country, not because of the slogans or like the politicians, but because of the people I've met who are trying to make it better. Veterans rebuilding lives, teachers working 2 jobs, parents who still show up to every school meeting because they care. That's America to me, not the power plays, not the press wars, not the noise, just the people, messy, stubborn, beautiful people who still give a damn. If we could all see that again, maybe we'd realize we're not enemies. We're just exhausted patriots on different sides of the same dream.
You know, nights like this remind me why this show even exists. Because somewhere between the chaos of Washington and the silence of Main Street, there's a gap where truth used to live. A place where people could argue without hating each other, where the flag meant unity instead of division, and where leadership wasn't about how loud you shouted, but how steady you stood. This week, we watched a president say he doesn't need Congress to defend the border, a nominee get burned by his own past, and the Pentagon decide who's allowed to hold a microphone. And yet, through all of it, the one constant is us, the people watching, listening, and trying to figure out who still deserves our trust. I don't care if you wear red, blue, or none of the above, because if you can't question your government, you're not free. And if you can't speak your mind, you're not living in America anymore. What I heard from the panel tonight, Brian's fire, Rachel's conscience, Daniel's depth, and Skylar's heart, is what keeps me going. We don't have to agree to love this country. We just have to remember that disagreement is what keeps it alive. The Constitution wasn't written to protect power. It was written to protect people from it. So as you head into the weekend, take a breath, hug your family, drink the coffee, blast the Truth Bombs album, and remember, freedom isn't fragile. It's forged every single day by those who refuse to bow, bend, or back down. I'm Artie Roy, and this has been Data and Dissonance. Remember to speak truth, stir thought, and never stop questioning the noise. Tonight's episode of Data and Dissonance is brought to you by the stories that built this movement. The Caleb Rourke Thriller Series. If you love conspiracy, espionage, and patriotism with a heartbeat, dive into The Covenant Protocol and The Prophet Directive. 2 action-packed novels that tear the mask off corruption, and ask what one man will risk to defend freedom when the system collapses. Book 3, Black Echo Rising, is coming soon, and trust me, it hits harder than a Senate hearing on live TV. Grab your copies now on Amazon, and remember, these aren't just thrillers. They're warnings wrapped in adrenaline. And tomorrow, October 25th, the soundtrack to this whole movement drops. Truth Bombs. 9 tracks of unapologetic, politically charged fire straight from the Data and Dissonance crew, where hip-hop meets heartland grit and the lyrics hit like headlines. Stream it everywhere. Spotify, Apple Music, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, and let the world know that truth still has a rhythm. So from the written word to the spoken one, we're arming minds, stirring thought, and reminding the world that the fight for truth isn't fiction. It's now.